This trip, which was the trek and the safari trip to Tanzania, started with Kenya Airways, and it was a flight from Mumbai International Airport to Kilimanjaro International Airport. There was a break, that is a layover at Nairobi Airport, and look at these stunning views from flight of Mount Kilimanjaro. As we arrived,
Jambo.
we were picked up
Hello
by
means
our
Jambo.
tour
This is
operator,
Jambo.
and on the way to the hotel, he taught
Habari.
us some
How are
Swahili
you?
language
Okay.
of Tanzania.
Hakuna Matata? No worry. Asante? Thank you. Welcome. Karibu. What else do you want to know?
As I arrived in Arusha, this was my first place of stay for the safari. This was the safari lodge, and it had beautiful decor of the feel of Africa with wildlife photos and a lot of decor which resembled something connected to Africa. It was beautifully decorated. There were some ostrich feathers put in a circular manner on the wall. I thought let's take an opportunity to click a picture with that background. The weather is really cool here in Arusha, and so I cannot even think of taking a dip in this swimming pool, though it is available. Day 2, I was picked up from the hotel at around 8:30 a.m. and we started off to Tarangire National Park for our first exciting safari in Tanzania. This is a local taxi stand in Arusha, and we stopped here for exchanging dollars to Tanzanian shillings. These are the basic Tanzanian shillings that we used. On the way, we stopped for a visit to the Cultural Heritage Museum, which is created to show the popular cultural artifacts of Tanzania. This whole place is filled with artifacts. They are handicrafts, they are paintings, there are small and huge creative artistic sculptures and statues and other things. And not just that you can see these, you can also buy them here. After the visit to the Cultural Heritage Museum, we now proceeded to the Tarangire National Park. Tarangire National Park is spread across 2850 square kilometers, and it's a good place to see the big fives. And not just that, it is famous for the baobab trees. We were welcomed by this beautiful starling here. As I moved inside the Tarangire National Park, the first sighting was of the giraffes. They were leisuring on the road. The next sighting was of the ostrich bird. It was as if it was coming down and saying a hello to us, and then it crossed the road on the other side. Then came the zebras who were grazing at ease, and also another giraffe at the roadside eating the small leaves of the tree. Then we stopped over for lunch in between at around 12:30. And we could see this hornbill trying to bargain upon and get some meals from the people who had stopped over here. From the top, we could see the Tarangire River, which is the only water supply source for the animals in this forest. From the top, we could see far away near the Tarangire River, there was a herd of elephants. So we decided to rush ahead and check out on them. As we went near them, we could see a number of elephants from a very short distance, and it was an amazing view. Most of the elephants were trying to find green plants to feed on. Next to spot were the wild boars. Of course, the people here call them Pumbas, like the from the cartoon Timon and Pumbaa. This is the Pumba. Moving on, we stopped at a huge baobab tree that was in the center of the forest. This is how it looked from the inside. Can you now spot me sitting next to the tree? Ahead, we spotted a vulture nest. This was a female giraffe crossing the road. The guide told us that if the horns have hair on it, then it is a female giraffe. It was evening time, and these fowls seemed to be running back home. Just as we were about to end our safari for the day, we spotted a few lions sleeping and lazing around in the grasslands. It was evening now, and the beautiful landscapes could be seen in this Tarangire National Park, and it was almost time to bid goodbye for the day. Before moving out of the national park, we spotted the smallest antelope of this area, and also there was a striped mongoose in action grazing around. The day ended with these beautiful evening landscapes of the forest.
The Tarangire Lodge, and we are in the forest. Actually, I'm going to my room now. That's at the end. They've named in their own language different rooms. You can see the names here. Can't even read it properly. Room has solar, and there is no wired electricity here. So everything will be with solar, lights, water, everything.
The second safari began from the Sangaivi gate of Tarangire National Park. A pair of white bellied go away birds were sitting on this tree. This group of zebras crossed our vehicle really close. The zebra stripes are there to confuse the predators and probably misguide them in the entire ambience of the forest. Further in this forest were a group of impalas grazing ahead. ahead were water bucks grazing. The locals told us that the meat of this water buck is not so interesting, and so the lions normally do not hunt these water bucks. A little ahead, we spotted the hornbill feeding on the ground. This was the male, and his female was also feeding a little ahead. This red necked spurfowl was giving beautiful looks, and I was really enjoying taking the video of it. This was the white headed buffalo weaver bird. And these are the nests of this weaver bird. Look at this tilted anthill. It's so strange. There were baboons walking on the road. Look at their tail. It's so strange the way they carry it. It looks so funny. Wow, these huge African elephants have just were just coming near our vehicle, and it was so nice to see them from this distance. There was a small baby also in the group. I was so happy that I just wanted to take a selfie with these elephants, and it was fun. It was a good day for bird watching. On one side was the roller bird, beautiful, and on the other side we saw the secretary bird. Look at its way the it's look at the way it's walking. A huge bird, and what a sight. Just as we were going to exit this Tarangire National Park gate, we saw these Egyptian goose near the water. They were so beautiful. After lunch, our safari ended, and we were off to see the Maasai village, the locals, how they live, and their houses, their culture. We are going to go and see that. So we reached the local Maasai village, and here we saw this woman constructing the house with using her hands and some instruments, and she was doing it beautifully. It was a lot of it was a big task actually, but she was doing it alone. The local guide told us that the Maasai men do nothing but just bring money for the purpose of food,
so as the
and
kids they can get
they don't help in
expression
construction of the
like
houses or any
all they can
work at
participate
home or any farm work.
when you get
Going into the
free like
house.
okay, you see guys come on look
Okay.
you see can you tell wedding time
This
when
is the
there is
dance they
secret
do
visitors
during
line
their,
that's what they
you can
do
say,
guys when
wedding
you
time, where
enter
they are
move
trying to impress the
in
girls.
cycle
And
and then in
the
shorty
girl will
jumping
get
please enjoy
impressed with the person who jumps the highest. Next visit was to the place where these people were making the wooden handicrafts.
he's going to explain to you so later on you can get a chance to walk around taking picture much as you can. But here guys, this is their daily activity. Why do we take you here guys? This is a part of our culture, a walking tour, CPO, Friends Community Organization. Nobody will force you like a bye-bye, no. The way you feel to supporting them, that's you guys, bye-bye anything. And here, this is not like a kilo shop, no. You can bargain because they do make it by themselves. If you be interested, okay?
A local saloon visit on the way was quite interesting because we were keen on watching out for how these people make so many pleats of their hair and their strands and how does it last. So we had many questions in mind where these locals, everybody we could see with the same similar type of hairstyle. So we were keen to see it, and here we got the answer to our questions. Tanzanite is a local
And
precious
it's
stone
very
found in
rich in
Tanzania, and
high
we
chance of
visited a
producing
place, a
graphite.
center, which
So
showed
when we
us
add
like a
spottage,
demo of how
that's when they
Tanzanite
start
is
drilling into the
extracted.
walls,
And it was
insert the
interesting
dynamite,
to see
and then they
this.
go above the ground waiting for the mine face to blast. Once everything has cooled inside the mine shaft, that's when everybody dives back in to finish what they have started. So after the mine face is blasted, we are left with what we call a sugary wall, or you can call it ukuta wa sukari in Swahili. So all these minerals, they will be taken out, they will be recorded, bagged, and locked into bigger steel boxes in that form. We keep them on the cart. Okay. And at tight security, they will be transferred above the ground.
Jewelry is made from this precious stone, and it's more of like a competition to the diamond. The next day was the visit to the Ngorongoro Crater, which is the world's largest inactive, intact, and unfilled volcanic caldera. Inside the building was this map, which was like a scale model created of Ngorongoro. It's around an hour's drive where you are taken to the topmost point from where you can view the volcano, the crater, rather, you could say. So, this is the topmost point, and from here you can see the beautiful views of the crater. And it's really chilly and it's really cold here and windy also. So after that, we now again descend down into the crater where we will be watching a lot of wildlife today. The road here was quite dusty. This was our first sighting, and a little ahead we saw a lioness sleeping in peace near the pond. This reminded me of the pose that we had seen in the cartoon of Lion King. This was one of the rare sightings where we could see the hippos had come out from the pond and they were grazing around. Though quite far off, we were at least lucky to spot a male lion in this grassland. He was on the lookout and watch out of his area. That was quite a moment because we could spot the male lion in this huge grassland. It is quite rare to spot because the area is quite far spread. As we moved further on, we could spot one of the big fives, and that is the buffaloes. A group which was just lazing around and grazing in this area. The locals told us that the buffaloes are quite dangerous if you encounter them. Hence, they are classified under the big fives of Africa. The grey crowned cranes were a sight because they were looking so beautiful in this group. This hyena seemed to be injured and it was lying beside the road where all the vehicles were passing. Then came our lunch stopover. After lunch, we continued with chasing of these African animals on the safari. We had some more time in Ngorongoro Crater. These common elands were quite unique to this particular Crater National Park, and it was nice to sight them here. Wow, this was amazing. We could spot the Kori bustards, and that too from such a short distance. And they were walking continuously near our vehicle. The Kori bustard is the largest flying bird native to Africa. Then came the most famous and well known wildebeests of this area who are famous for their great migrations. They had gathered here in large numbers. Africa is famous for the great migrations of these wildebeest. They cross the rivers and the various grasslands and plain areas in thousands in numbers. Here it seems that they are taking some rest before they proceed ahead. And now it was time to say goodbye to Ngorongoro Crater National Park, and this beautiful ostrich just came to say bye to us. With a few photo clicks, we drove back to Arusha. So now we are driving down from Arusha to the Momela Gate, which is the starting point of our trek. At the first entry gate, you have to wait for just passing into the getting a pass to get into the national park, and then at the second gate again there will be some registrations. At the Momela gate, you will find the rangers and they will make some entries on your behalf, your name and everything. And the registration fees have to be paid. Our fees were already paid by our guide and the trek organizer. This blue monkey was greeting everyone at the reception area. It was like a warm welcome from the wildlife. After completing the formalities, we have now started our 10 kilometers hike for the day up to Miria Kamba Hut. The hike distance entirely is through the forest, and hence the forest ranger accompanies you. Some places had small paths, and these were just we had to go through the grass on both sides. And there were some areas where there was no well defined path as such, and you had to just find your way through the forest on the other end. This was a nice tree arc in between, and so it was so much fun to click photos here. The trek route was filled with different variety of beautiful flowers and trees. The view here was beautiful, and we had covered almost 7 kilometers or so, and we were still to trek another 3 kilometers. Most patches of this trek were steep climbs. So, after around a 5 hour hike, I have reached finally the Miria Kamba hut, and here you will find place to stay. There will be a separate toilet hut, and the temperature here is quite less. It's around maybe 6 to 7 degrees, and so I'm wearing two to three layers of clothing. Today's elevation gain was from 4921 feet to 8202 feet. That is a total elevation gain of around 3280 something feet. The day started with this small water ball that they've given us of warm water, and they call this as washy washy. And we have to clean up in this much of water, and I'm going to try my best. Let's see. This was the area where we had breakfast, and they served us a lovely breakfast, but I could hardly eat much. It was like the potato finger chips types thing, and plus some salads, omelette, coffee. The second day of our hike was a steep climb day. A complete steep climb for 8 kilometers. Let's see how it goes. These morning forest views were simply beautiful. The weather was cool and the climb was strenuous. The only thing was that the views were simply beautiful and these were just keeping my spirit up. We have climbed and trekked this entire ridge of these two mountains, and we are now almost nearing the saddle hut. Finally reached Saddle Hut at 3,500 meters, or in a way, 11,483 feet. So, elevation gain is from 8,202 feet to 11,483 feet, or in other words, 3,281 feet of elevation gain. Day 3, after walking for 6 kilometers, you will see this beautiful sunrise at Mount Meru and also the ash cone from the top. Since our trek was for 3 days, on the same day after the sunrise, we descended down up to the Miria Kamba hut and then to the Momela gate, which totals up to 24 kilometers on the same day. Just as we were about to end the trek, we was just about to reach the Momela gate, we saw this beautiful black and white colobus monkey. It just felt so nice to view it after this long, tiring trek. The last day of this Tanzania trip, we visited the Chemka hot springs, which are around 2 hours drive from Arusha. But though the water is really beautiful blue and it's a small spot to spend some time, it's not so much worth also. And especially the water is not hot, so you cannot call it a hot spring.